Welcome back to another episode of The Voice. Tonight I have the distinct honor of having a friend, Fred Von Canon, with us on The Voice. Now, Fred is a Republican candidate for House District 35 in the North Carolina House, which covers Wake Forest, Rollsville, and part of North Raleigh, as well as eastern Wake County. District 35 is currently represented by Terrence Everett, who defeated Republican Chris Malone in the last election, and Fred is working hard to recapture this seat. Fred is a career businessman, a man of strong faith, and an exceptionally gifted entrepreneur. He's never run for public office before. Instead, he spent most of his career building a highly successful company in Wake Forest. Maverick Solutions is dedicated to creating premier training and custom business solutions for enterprise Oracle software clients. His company employs 65 people. Fred founded the company in 1999 and he serves as the president. Before founding Maverick in 1999, Fred served in the United States Navy and as a senior instructor at Oracle. Fred was born in Asheville, and he has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering from Auburn University and a Master of Science in Computer Engineering from the University of South Carolina. So, Fred, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, on your website, Fred, it says you're a veteran, an entrepreneur and business owner, a father of 5, a grandfather of 7, a husband of Anita, who Anita is awesome. Just so our audience will know, you have a wonderful wife, and the son of the risen king. Your opponent, Terrence Everett, is a Washington, D.C. lawyer who moved to Wake Forest. Now, that's quite a contrast. And Fred, I want you to tell me a little bit more about the contrast between you and your opponent.
Yeah, it's interesting about, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. So, husband of Anita, I tell you, most people around Wake Forest know me as Anita's husband, so she is
That's
awesome.
Great.
So, the contrast, I think there's several things that I would say, as a contrast. I'm not a lawyer from D.C., that's moved in. I was born in North Carolina, and this is where we're raising kids and grandkids, and I believe further that though lawyers are certainly welcome and have a great place, in representative government, I think representative government at its core is meant to be that citizen legislator. Mm-hmm. And that's what I am. My background is in life, not necessarily politics. And I think that's really the intention of representative government, is that you have people that have some laps on them, that, have some experience with life and not just as a lawyer. So, No knock to lawyers.
No offense taken.
Okay.
So, Fred, I know you've been thinking for some time about running for office, and you've built a successful career here as an entrepreneur in Wake Forest. What made you want to add one more thing to your plate and run for public office? I mean, I know you're a busy man already, but why did you pull the trigger this year?
A few things. One is the person that's representing us now. When you're represented by someone that doesn't represent anything of your values, it just at some point you kind of just say, well, somebody needs to be the person that's going to take this on. And so I always felt like I could be successful in politics. I've never been per se in politics. I always loved the political discussions, and I'm a conservative. I've been since I was 18 years old and had the chance to vote for Ronald Reagan. So I love conservatism. I love conservative values. Having that discussion, I think that is just the best way to run government is through conservative values. And so when I see how my opponent and current representative is voting against the Born Alive bill, it just all the way down the line, I just couldn't handle it anymore. As you said, I've been thinking about this for a few years, and we have a lot of people that we counseled about, including yourself, and I don't know if I have you to thank or blame for this, but in any case, we talked to a lot of people that I trust their opinion, prayed about it a lot, and though we knew it was going to add a lot to an already busy life, I just felt that was something that we were called to do as a family, and me at the at point. And so I'm looking forward to doing it. I know it's going to be a lot of work. It already has been, but I'm ready for it.
Well, you're not averse to hard work. I know that. And I certainly think you represent the values of the people of Eastern Wake County much better than the guy who sits in the seat right now.
I believe so too.
Yes. So what is it about the State House of Representatives that makes you want to serve there?
Well, again, representative republic, right? The way our government is set up, it's that way. And so there's I didn't want to jump in like President Trump and go for president or anything. And so I feel very strongly about Wake County. Feel very strongly about. I believe that North Carolina is the greatest state. Wake Forest, our area here in the state, is the best place to live. We just love it, and I just want us to be represented by common sense, conservative values. So
that's wonderful. What a great motivation for running. Thank you, by the way, for the sacrifice that you're making in your personal life to run for office.
You're welcome.
I know it's a lot.
It is, but you're welcome.
Well, on your website, it says you believe in hard work, personal responsibility, family, North Carolina, and God. Can you explain why these are the things that drive you?
Well, that's just how I was raised. I believe that's how most people, in our district, I think, are raised for hard work. We're not allergic to it. It's God ordained. And so, personal responsibility, we've gotten away from that to some degree. I don't think too far. I think we can rein that back in. But personal responsibility, work, that's the best way out of poverty is employment. And you can't through entitlements and different things, government programs, you're not ever going to get out of poverty. You're going to have to work and hard work, and I think when people do that, there's dignity in that, and so that's always what I believe in. And God, the last part of that is the thing that is the framework for everything that I believe in. So
I know that to be true about you too. So what is it in your professional experience, in your training, Fred, that makes you the most qualified candidate in the race for House District 35?
Well, again, I think it probably goes back to just 40 years of life running a business, being a veteran. But serving in the military, I think, has a unique benefit. The organizational wherewithal. But it's very disciplined work, and I think a lot of that comes into play in life. And I think, again, and having a business, having multiple businesses actually, so I've had to make payroll I still make payroll for 65 people here and now over at the restaurant. And so there's something about that when you do that and you're the last person that gets paid and you don't get paid if there's nothing left. That type of that grows you, that gives you something that there's a servant leadership piece that comes with that makes you understand I think how things should be, and we have a certain respect for small government and lower taxes and less regulations and the things that business owners need to be able to grow. We know what that is. We live it every day, and so I think those are part of the contrast that would make me a better fit for this spot.
That's great. I looked at your website, and then I looked at Terrence Everett's website, and you get a great feel for what's important to people by what's on their home page and kind of the bullet points under their name. And on his website, it looks to me like he's about increasing teacher pay, destroying educational choice, providing government-run health care, racial equality, and what he calls fair voting laws that would really give the Democrats an advantage and destroy free speech and campaign law. And on your website, it says you're a constitutionalist, a capitalist, a Christian, and a conservative. And that's quite a contrast. So I want you to explain to our audience why you believe your values represent Wake Forest and District 35 better than his values.
Well, it's interesting. A couple of things he pointed out. So the increase in teacher pay, which he voted against the budget and voted against it, which had a very good a raise for all teachers in North Carolina, and then that was vetoed, and it came back, and he voted against it again.
Yeah, so he says he's for it,
Right.
but he's voted against
Yep.
it twice.
And school choice, he's big on public schools, and I'm sure getting their money, from the unions, and that's great. But the reality is, school choice should be that's if you're in a market-based economy, that's one of the things that should be dictated by the market. And in fact, his kids go to a private school.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So the
And so-
irony and hypocrisy of that, where
So-
he wants to be in the teachers union's pocket,
Right.
and yet his kids go to a private school.
Yes, I think there's the idea of choice, school choice is probably as big now as it's ever been, and certainly with the land of COVID. So we need to have that choice. Public schools are great if that's what you want. Our kids went to public schools here in Wake Forest for years, and then we did switch over to a private school because that was the best for us at that point. And that's how it should be. If you go to a charter school, homeschool, private school, public school, that's how it should be. But to dictate, to mandate, to really force people into public schools
Takes away their choice.
takes away the
doesn't it?
choice. But then it's a little rich when your kid you vote that way and then send your kids to a private school. So so yes, I believe in the Constitution. I am a capitalist. I believe in a market-based economy, school included, and am a Christian, am a conservative. I think conservative, that term conservative sometimes comes across as uncaring, but I think conservatism by its nature is the best way to care for people. I think conservative principles raise all ships with that rising tide of a market-based economy and providing what the economy needs. And when you take that away and you damper that with just continuing to just give through public money, give to a certain group of people, it's disincentivizing them to work. It's taking their dignity away, and it's really not helping them. And we haven't made an inch of progress in the war on poverty since it started 50 years ago. We still have the exact same amount, maybe even a percentage or two more in poverty than we had then. It feels good, to say let's give to people, and there should be a safety net. There absolutely should be, but I believe in true conservatism, if it's done correctly, raises everybody. I think even our poor have a greater standard of living than a lot of the rest of the world. And
Absolutely.
I think conservatism and conservative values and capitalism specifically have raised the standard of living across the world, not just in the United States, but that's been successfully exported across the world. So I'm unashamed conservative, and again, I'm working on trying to battle the fact that conservatism somehow has been, by the liberals, equated with mean-spirited and all this. And so he wants racial equality. You mentioned, I don't know anybody that doesn't. We want that for everyone. And so, I think, his intentions may be good, but I think there's a better way of doing it.
So House District 35 is one of the last swing districts left in Wake County. The Senate seat that covers the same territory is a swing seat as well. And these are the last two seats in Wake County that Republicans have a chance of winning. And I wondered if you could explain to our listeners tonight why it is so important for the entire state for you to win this district race.
I think I'm a friend of Dan Forrest, as you, and I pray that he wins. I
Yes.
expect, as my optimistic nature dictates, that he will. But in the situation that he does not win, I think it's so imperative, and you saw it in the first two years of Governor Cooper's term, where when bills would come over, he would veto, they'd come back and they would just get overridden. And so, there's a lot of damage, I think, that a liberal governor can do and has done even in those first 2 years. But at least legislation could pass because of the override. And we're 7 seats away from that in this year's election. And I talked to Speaker Moore the other day. He was rattling off, here's the seats. We know we can get them back. And mine was one of them. There's a couple more in Wake County, but across the state, there are seats that we can win back, and I think it's very very imperative that we win those seats because it'd be great to have the supermajority even with Dan as the governor, but if for some reason he does not win, and we have still a liberal governor for the next 4 years, I think it's so imperative that we have a supermajority, which can help balance out the liberalism that's coming from there. So,
well, it's really created a stalemate
Yeah.
where Republican principles cannot go forward because if they don't have the votes in the General Assembly to override the governor's veto, this governor has vetoed more bills than all of his predecessors put together. And so it's imperative that either we have Dan Forrest as governor or we have veto-proof majorities in the General Assembly for
Or
the
both.
conservative agenda to proceed. And of course, the Born Alive bill vetoed by Governor Cooper.
Yep.
We didn't have the votes in the House to override
budget.
his veto.
Yeah.
And the budget. Yes.
I think it's important. And so from a statewide, your listeners across the state, so they may live in a district that is 70-30 one way or the other, or even 65-35, or it's already decided. They live in a very blue or a very red district, but they still want to be able to help. There are people that are in very toss-up type districts. Our district is even as it gets. Of the people that voted in the last few elections, 33% are Republican, 33% are Democrat, and 33% are unaffiliated. So it is the toss-up district. And so help, support, whether it's prayer, whether it's donating to the campaign, helping to volunteer, knocking on doors or whatever. If there's you can help a campaign that can help get that supermajority back, even if your district isn't one that you can help in, because it's already decided one way or the other.
And so if people want to help in your race, where do they go to help you?
Yeah, so the website, I was kind of cracking up inside when you said when you look at the website, the first thing, what you see first kind of tells you a little bit. I think the first thing you see is a donate button for me. So we need help. We need campaign donations. And so votevoncanon.com is the website, so votevoncanon.com.
Okay,
and if
great.
you go there, you can see more about us. You can see some of the positions and what Tammy's looking at here, but you can also have a place where you can volunteer. The first thing on volunteer is prayer. That's, I think, a thing that's probably the most important for us, but then it goes down knocking on doors or making calls, and again, obviously, campaign donations. This isn't free. The Terrence Everett, who's in this seat, his spent on his behalf last time in 2018 was over $750,000 for
Wow.
a House race.
To win a House
To
seat.
win a House seat. So
Wow.
I don't know where we're going to be. We're raising, we're doing fundraising now, and it's going well. And I don't know. I know they don't want to lose that seat, so we might wind up having one of the most, if not the most expensive House race. So campaign donations help us be competitive in these races. So
That's good to know.
yeah.
So Fred, if you get elected as the representative for House District,
When I get elected.
when you get elected, thank you for correcting me. When you get elected as a representative for House District 35, what are your top 3 priorities going to be?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think priority number 1 has to be kind of in the micro, in the moment is helping businesses get back on their feet. And right now we've got a governor and these executive orders, these in my mind unconstitutional executive orders, are really creating an unlevel playing field. So there's businesses that you can do and you can't, and it's and even if you open and when you open, you still have to follow different rules than you had. And so
Right.
that whole thing is causing an enormous amount of pain and suffering. There's businesses that are closed that will never reopen, and there are people that are unemployed that got through no fault of their own unemployed through this, and it will be maybe years before they get
Over 1 million people, I
Yeah,
think, in
and
North
so-
Carolina we've
absolutely.
had. Yeah.
And so that represents a lot of people in our district that are out of work. And so I think the first priority is to figure out how to get these businesses opened, how to get people employed. Again, a job is the best hedge against poverty that there is. So we've got to get people employed and get them meaningfully employed. So that'll take a few things. And then Again, school choice I think is big. I know there's going to be a battle with the liberals about that. So we need to hit that head on. I'm always a pro-life person, so I would one of my first things would try to get that bill back in and see if we've got enough votes for it to even putting aside, which I'm not doing, but for the sake of this point, putting aside abortion per se and saying after a baby has been born surviving an abortion, to not be able to protect that baby, that's unconscionable. So
it's unimaginable that Governor Cooper wouldn't sign the bill, and that all the Democrats in the House and Senate
they all fell
voted
in line
against
with
it.
him.
So those are great priorities. In the past month, we've seen a lot of rioting around the state and destruction of private property, public property, statues, monuments, and people are crying out to even defund the police. What should be the response of our state government to these lawless acts of violence and defunding the police?
Defunding the police might be everything. Every time you think you hear something and you're like, okay, that's as silly as it can get, then you get a new one. And this one is just, it's not even silly because it's so serious. I can't imagine that there are any people, and it's interesting. So like the mayor of Seattle, she's supporting all this stuff until they came to her door, and then it got real, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really what it's about. If you can imagine your car being, or your spouse or your wife or your child's car being stopped on the freeway and these people jumping on it, and
I can't. I've watched those videos, and I just think how terrifying that should be.
We've had a conversation. I've got 2 teenage daughters. One's driving, and one's about to, and my wife, and like, do everything you can not to get in these situations, but try to, it's crazy. And defund the police and having the police back out of things is so backward. I think that there is certainly a legitimate anybody that saw, Mr. Floyd, have his neck, stood on for 8 minutes, knows that was wrong. There's not a soul. I've never heard anybody defend the cops' actions there. And so police need to be trained well. They need to be policed well. And I think the unions, do a disservice in this regard in protecting bad cops, because there's bad cops. There are bad cops. That doesn't make all cops bad, and that doesn't make the solution to defund the police. It's ludicrous. It really is. I think that we need to defend the police. I think we need to support law enforcement. Why isn't the solution to have better training and to let's see what we can do about whatever we can do to wring out the bad apples, because we all know they're there, and let's get them out. Let's do everything we can to get them out, but let's support the police and let's fund the police, not defund the police.
So just turning to education, last year the North Carolina Values Coalition was receiving phone calls from parents who had children in public school in Wake Forest, and they were asking for our help. And we discovered that Wake County Public Schools, through the Office of Equity Affairs, had pushed a curriculum into the classroom called Social Justice that was written by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And it promotes teachers and students. It teaches the students how to riot, first of all, and how to destroy our heritage, and then it indoctrinates them with anti-American, Marxist, and gender ideology. So if elected as a state legislator, what can you do to get these types of curriculums out of the schools?
Well, these curriculums, it is eye-opening what comes in, and I think I just saw, and it might have been that same group that they are bringing into Wake County Public Schools this fall, I think, a Black Lives Matter curriculum.
I was aware there is one, but I didn't know they were bringing it to Wake County Public Schools.
And so now, again, to be clear, I believe all lives matter, black, white, every color in between. But the organization, the Black Lives Matter organization, is a Marxist organization that falls right in line with what you're talking about.
Well, I wanted to turn to another issue. I've seen you and your family out at peaceful prayer walks outside abortion clinics in Raleigh with the group Love Life, and then I met up with you and your family in Washington, D.C. for the March for Life this year. And so I know you care deeply about the killing of unborn babies through abortion. Can you tell us about your commitment to the unborn?
Our family is committed. We've put a lot of our time and treasure into the cause for life. We believe that God has created us all, and starts in the womb. And so we just want to protect life from start to finish, from conception till natural death. And so, it is interesting, to kind of tie this back in a little bit. The Black Lives Matter, and we do believe that. We believe that Black Lives Matter. In fact, we believe further that that Planned Parenthood and that group, and specifically in those people on that side of the issue, they target black people. They put these Planned Parenthoods in black communities. Margaret Sanger, you don't have to look very hard to see her background was
as a racist,
a complete and total racist, wanted to destroy the black race. In fact, there's more black babies aborted than born in New York City every year. More babies aborted than born.
That's a hard statistic to sink in.
It is, and so we want to save babies and of all colors, and so we just believe in it. I think it's something that brings our family together. We see a lot of like-minded people out there on Saturdays or any other days, and at the March for Life, that was encouraging to see so many people and to hear the president speak.
It was.
So yeah, it's something that we believe in. We support a lot of organizations, including Love Life and Human Coalition and several others around that believe also in the cause for life.
That's wonderful. We share that concern.
Yeah.
So, another important issue is the First Amendment and religious freedom, the right to free speech, the right to assemble. Tell our viewers, what your thoughts are on the protection of the First Amendment.
Well, again, one of my pillars, I'm a constitutionalist, and I believe, that is what we should follow, when it helps and when it doesn't, whether it's if you want to get a search warrant, you need to do it the right way. And a lot of my conservative brethren would like to ignore some of the Constitution in there. And that's probably where I lean a little more libertarian, type. But as for the First Amendment, there's nothing, it's so easy to understand and so easy to get behind. It does need protected. It's in the Constitution, so it should be protected automatically. And we're seeing, we see different rulings at the Supreme Court, and I don't want to think everything evolves around the Supreme Court, but freedom of speech, freedom of religion, assembly. These are just they're the chassis of how we're built. That's part of the fabric of America, and we have to protect those.
They're core values. Yes.
They are who we are. So
yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that your opponent has been endorsed by Planned Parenthood and the Conservation League and some other liberal groups.
Yeah.
I suspect that he is endorsed by the teachers union. They probably supported his campaign last time heavily, and I just wanted to tell our viewers tonight that it's my high honor and privilege for the North Carolina Values Coalition to publicly state its endorsement for Fred Von Canon for House District Seat number 35. And I think you've seen during this interview that Fred has the experience, the values, and the character to represent District 35 very well. So I hope that when you vote this fall, you'll remember Fred Von Canon.
Thank you. Well, that's
You're
a
welcome.
Surprise. That's a pleasant surprise. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I would absolutely appreciate your vote and your support in any way that you can help. So.
Yes, so thank you, Fred, for being with us on The Voice tonight. And I just want to wish you every success in your campaign for the House representative for District 35, and thank you for the courage and the sacrifice that it takes to run for office.
Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement for doing this, and thank you for endorsing us. It's
our
awesome.
Privilege and honor to do that.
Honored to have it.
So, if you've enjoyed tonight's program, and I hope you have, please be sure to visit ncvalues.org to see past episodes of The Voice. We want to thank you for being with us today, and hope you'll join us again next week.
Which of these issues do you care about? What if you could influence how they were legislated? What if you could impact the outcome of the next election? What if you could change the course of America?